we spend so long suppressing ourselves and trying to fit into what everybody wants us to be that once you can reclaim that, it's life-changing.
I think it's important to note that just because you're ready to challenge these expectations, don't expect everyone to be like, you can get that from us. Like,
right.
we're in your cheering section. Like, listen to one of our episodes. We'll support whatever you need to do when you're feeling down. But do not for 1 second expect that society is just going to be like, this is a fantastic idea. Like, often it's the complete opposite. And I just feel like you got to take that into account. Not to change your behavior or do something different, but just to kind of prep yourself that shit's going down and it is not going to be, people are not necessarily happy.
When you make changes, people around you are going to have feelings and thoughts about it. And you just need to be prepared for that. Welcome to Drinks with the Girls. Conversations for women over 40 around connection, change, and the power of female friendship. Living well with stories to tell. I'm Karen, and this is Lisa.
We are moms and solopreneurs stepping into our own, diving into real conversations about things that matter to women in midlife.
We're here to spill the tea on everything that affects women in their 40s and beyond. Topics like loss and grief, changing relationships, launching kids, menopause, and reinventing ourselves in midlife. We are here to tackle it all.
Connect with us through a blend of our lived experiences, our friendship, the memory of our moms, plus a collection of real stories, honest conversations, and engaging interviews that will make women over 40 feel seen and remind them that they're not alone on this journey called life. Let's go.
Welcome back to Drinks with the Girls. Today we are talking about why midlife women are now the cool kids.
Oh yeah.
Because guess what? 50 is not the new 30. It's better. But before we really dive in, I'm going to let you know what I'm drinking. I'm drinking my all-time favorite non-alcoholic drink, tea Java, unsweetened on ice.
Move it
Cheers.
over. I want to see. Looks so beautiful.
Well, I just have my glass. I don't have the...
Oh, there we go. Oh, but I wanted to see the beautimousness of the lovely drink.
It's delicious. What are you drinking?
Feel like I've got like a toolkit here. I've got the water. I've got partialness of a free Coke Zero because, don't turn down. And for those of you that are wondering, mine says friend, which is apropos. And then I've got my current obsession, a Pelican Brewery Sparkle Hops with an acai flavor that I am kind of like getting addicted to at this point. So, this episode, the germ of the idea was I came across an article in that famous scholarly publication, People Magazine, and that was the title of the article, Why Midlife Women Are Now the Cool Kids, Why 50 Isn't the New 30, It's Better. And the author was basically talking about, not only kind of how we are the cool kids, but really kind of framing it from a pop culture standpoint and how, we used to be kind of seen and not heard in the background, but that, midlife women are having this renaissance in books and movies and TV shows and all that. And who knew people actually want to find out about their lives and see what's going on? Shocker. So we thought we'd celebrate that.
Yeah, and I think this is the perfect piggyback episode because, what was it, 2 episodes ago, we dropped our rebranding the midlife crisis episode.
Yes.
So I think this is a very nice follow-up to that episode.
I agree.
One of the things that I liked in the article was she said, old ideas about this life stage are undergoing something of a rebrand, which, that's what we talked about. So Jane Costello wrote the article, and what she said is, none of this is necessarily about defying your age, which I love because, we hear so much about reversing aging or defying aging. So it's not about defying our age, right? But owning it, enhancing it. She says, enhancing the experience of it and celebrating the best parts, which I love.
Yep.
Right? Like enhancing it. How can we enhance our life instead of like denying that we're actually aging? She also said, some have always been there, but reaching this age can bring perspective, confidence, and those joyous, long friendships that have sustained many of us through several decades. And I just love that she highlighted that.
Yeah, and I mean, it was interesting because when I read this article, like there's so many, we didn't read this before doing some of the episodes where we've referenced stuff, and I'll put it all in the show notes. But I was like, yep, talked about her, check, talked about that movie, talked about that book. So it was super cool to like, just, I felt like we'd kind of, what's the word?
I think validating.
I don't know.
We're on the right track.
I was going more lowbrow, but there you go.
So why do you think that midlife women are finally getting the recognition that we deserve?
Well, I mean, I think I can speak in general to Hollywood because that seems to be like what drives it. And the women that I feel like are getting screen time now as midlife women had careers when they were younger. And I also believe that, you know, actresses were kind of second fiddle to actors for a long time. Like it was really rare to see an actress headlining a movie, right? Or a show or whatever. And it's like, you know, like I'm thinking Streetcar Named Desire, like the Blanche Dubois character was something that actresses really wanted to play, but it was like, oh, it's an ensemble show, right? Like it wasn't like Nicole Ari Parker was in a version of it on Broadway a few years back. And it was like, she was being featured. It wasn't just like, yeah, I don't know. I think that's part of it is I feel like the language is changing. And so now all these women actresses that have kind of come of age and gotten status since that happened, well, they're aging just like everybody else. So like your Nicole Kidmans and your Reese Witherspoons of the world have enough clout to be like, yeah, let's make movies about what I want to watch and what I'm interested in. And lo and behold, there's an audience for it, right? We've talked about this, about how, you know, women in midlife have greater purchasing power, make a lot of the decisions in terms of what people spend their money on. So I feel like that's part of what it's reflecting.
Media for sure. And also social media. Like the fact that you can go on Instagram and you can see women who look like us talking about things that matter to us. You know, it's not just the 20 somethings on social media. But I think it's all a reflection also of like the societal, what is it, the kind of the breaking down of the gender roles, you know, because when you think about it, 50 years ago, women were the caretakers, maybe a teacher if you were able to have a job, maybe a nurse. So much of that is changing. Certainly had to do with the feminist movement, right? But also like, you know, we've talked about this before on the podcast, you know, in the 80s when it really, the whole thing about, you know, you can do it all, you can have it all. We get to work and raise a family. Yippee.
Yay, us. We get to do 5 times as much.
Right. But so I think women busting out of those roles that have always, you know, they were less traditional for women, you know, and so just that whole cycle that, and now here we are in, you know, 2025 and the changes that we've seen, it just opens everything up for women now. It's acceptable for you to want to start a business or, you know, to want to pivot at 50 and become something totally different in your career. Or guess what? You want to leave your marriage of 20 or 30 years, right? So I just think these things, although they're not super easy or acceptable, they're not totally 100%. Women don't feel like they have 100% permission yet. I just feel like it's those strict confines that women were always in are loosening.
And I mean, art is a mirror of society. So it makes sense that the art that's coming out now is reflecting a society that's changing. You know, we love to blame the patriarchy. The fact that there's chinks in the armor and it's not all about the patriarchy and what the view is of women in that system. That's being reflected in art and books and music and all those things.
And you know what? It's funny because we've talked a lot also on this podcast about the midlife crisis and what a midlife crisis looks like for women. And, you know, we've talked about like, is it really a crisis or is it just a pivot? 30, 40 years ago, I feel like it was a serious crisis for women if they were somebody who had this hunger for something more, like this hunger to do something different. than just take care of the family, than just, stay home and, mend clothes and cook dinner or whatever. I think it probably was a crisis for women who just had this longing for something more, something bigger, something deeper, something better, but they were confined into this, what society expected of them.
Well, and we joked about it, but it's like, oh, sure, you can have a career and you can do all those things, but you still have to do all this other stuff too. And oh, by the way, if you don't do both well, then you're a bad mom.
Yeah. For sure.
I was just watching the Grey's Anatomy episode when Meredith Grey's she's just come back from maternity leave for her second child, and she's trying to get in on this groundbreaking surgery. And Christina, her best friend, is like, I had to give it to someone else. And she's like, I was just there. I just had to do daycare and this, and that, and the other. And Christina says really lovingly, like, yes, you're a good mom. And yes, you should do all these things and it's great. But you haven't done all the things that the rest of us who didn't have kids did in terms of advancing our career. And it's not better or worse or whatever, but that's just kind of the way it is. And so I think that kind of grief over, I'm sorry, but you just can't freaking have it all. Like, there's not that much of you to spread around. You can do all these things and you can be good at them, but you're never going to be like, it's just, there's only so much freaking time in the day, for God's sakes, And I think that unfortunately we have these choices. And it's funny, I've been listening to stuff and this theme has kind of come up. I was listening to a podcast called How I Built This with Guy Raz at NPR, and he was interviewing Rick Steves. And it was really kind of interesting because Rick Steves is this very beloved figure, and he's just kind of this sweet, like, nerdy guy, and everybody loves him. And some of the stuff he was saying about when his children were little, I was a little like, whoa. Like, he very much acknowledges the fact that he was working all the time and gone, and there was some resentments from his kids. But then he said, I don't think I was a bad dad, but I was kind of traditional in the sense that I was providing for my family, and I understand why my ex was frustrated. And then he goes on to say, I'm sorry, some people may feel the need to move their kids into their dorm rooms, but I didn't. It's like, do it yourself. I was like, oh my God, like, wow. And I actually remember that feeling of like everybody's parents dropping them off in college and helping them move into the dorm room. That was not me because I went so far away. I managed it all on my own. My parents like mailed stuff. They gave me some money to like go into town and get the things that I needed for my room, but I was on my own. And I can tell you I did feel, it was intimidating. And I did feel a little like, man, I wish my parents were here. Like I never had parents come on Parents' Day because again, it's like they had to fly across country. So like my aunt and uncle, I would visit them and I don't know that they came down before graduation, but again, I'm going on kind of a tangent here, but I don't know.
I'm thinking,
like,
where are we going with this? Where are we headed?
I just feel like it's really, you're doing yourself a disservice to really think that you can do all of these things well when it's just one human, you.
Hey there, I'm Lisa Corricello-McDowell, your midlife Pacific Northwest princess, here to guide you in the art of next leveling your life. I'm passionate about women's health and wellness in midlife, especially for moms parenting kids with unique needs like I do. I truly believe we can learn, grow, advocate, and care for the planet while taking care of ourselves and our families. And I'd love to help you do the same. And I'm beyond excited to tell you about my membership for maxed out mamas just like me, the Empowered Parent Collective. It's a space for parents to confidently advocate for their kids, build inclusive communities, educate themselves, and find balance and support along the way. To find out more about the Empowered Parent Collective, my classes, wellness offerings, parenting tips, advocacy resources, and exclusive Drinks with the Girls goodies, head to nextlevellifewithlisa.com. Let's survive and thrive in the messy middle together.
Well, that's the bullshit that we were told. And as women, as wives, as mothers, we're not allowed to wave the white flag. Like you're just not allowed to, because I think you said it earlier, then you're a bad mom, you're a bad wife. If you can't, something's wrong with you if you can't do it all, because society says, guess what? You can do it all. You can have it all. And you're
I
right.
mean-
Yeah, like there's not enough hours in the day to
No.
do it all.
And I mean, I wonder if the midlife woman is having a renaissance in cultural references, might have something to do with the fact that, again, like these power brokers in Hollywood, a lot of them are women now and a lot of them are in midlife. And it's like they finally have a crack in their lives to like do some of this stuff.
Yeah.
And make the kind of art that they want to make. Because, you know, I mean, yeah, if you're rich and famous, you have nannies and you have help and all those things. But, you know, it's not a, what I want to cure all, I guess is the word I'm looking
And
for.
I love that you hear famous women in Hollywood, you know, Jane Fonda, Meryl Streep, Taylor Swift, whatever. She's not in Hollywood, but you know, she's famous,
Yep.
right? But you hear women saying, no, you see women drawing a line in the sand and it's like, I want more. And they highlight the patriarchy. Like we're finally starting to be able to put words to it and to say it out loud why, you know, women are so exhausted and so unhappy when they get into their 40s and 50s and want this renaissance or want this reclamation, right? And also like we're living longer.
Yeah.
And we talk about, well, life is short. Well, and yes, but also we could live to be 80 or 90. So if we're miserable in our 50s, we better figure it the fuck out because we could live another 40 years. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to be miserable.
No, thanks. No. Yeah, I was trying to remember where I saw it, but there was an article and Dave Justice was being interviewed and I want to say he was a center fielder. Say again.
Who's Dave Justice?
I'm trying to tell you.
Oh, okay. Give it to me.
He played for the Atlanta Braves in the 90s, and I think he was the center fielder, but I don't know. At any rate, and he was talking about his marriage to Halle Berry. And he was saying, you know, it broke down like after kind of the honeymoon phase. And he's like, because, you know, my wife wasn't at home like cooking and cleaning and raising children and doing all this stuff. And I was like, no, she's Halle Berry. Like, like, wasn't that maybe obvious when you married her? But I mean, he did kind of give himself some responsibility. He was like, oh, it's my, you know, only my second serious relationship. And, you know, it wasn't modeled for me, blah, 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 blah. But I was just like, wow. So you're saying your marriage broke up because you decided this gorgeous, beautiful, successful actress was someone you could marry and then would shove all that in the corner to like cook and clean for you? Like, wait a minute. Like error.
That's mind blowing. Good job, Halle, getting rid of him.
No kidding. Good God.
So there's this cultural misconception that midlife is the time for women to slow down or settle. Like that, like right now we should be winding down at 56 and 57. We should be winding down, right? So what would you say to that? What would you say to the women out there who are still buying into that bullshit?
I mean, I feel like I'm just getting started. You know, like I feel like my window is coming up, you know, and I'm looking forward to having a little bit more independence. I mean, again, I've talked to this ad infinitum. My situation's kind of unique in terms of the empty nest stuff, but just the mental bandwidth to do stuff. Like I've been long story, but I've been in the process of applying for disability for my son and having to go over all his medical records and his things and this, and it was just like, oh my God, like I'm reading this stuff and like crisis after freaking crisis after freaking crisis and stuff that I had to handle. And it was like, Jesus Christ, like how did I put my shoes on and like feed myself? Like, I mean, stuff that I'd completely forgotten. And it was like, it was unbelievable when we talk about the exploding to-do list, you know, and it was like, Jesus, girl, like, no wonder you were exhausted.
For sure. And, you know, it's like I've said this before on the podcast. I've told my kids who are almost 30 and then my daughter's 27, I told them your 40s is when things just start getting good. And they looked at me like I had 5 eyeballs. Like they could not believe it. And now they're used to it. Now they hear it ad nauseum. So they get it. Oh yeah, we get it, Mom. We get it. Right. And it's not about trying to be more youthful. It's not about trying to be 30 again. It's embracing the age that we are, right? And all the power that comes with that, and recognizing that we get to create our next chapter however we want. Like, sure, we could settle. We could just stick with the status quo and stay on autopilot, or we could really dive into what do we want? How do I want my next decade to look, my next year, my next 5 years, right? And then do it.
Well, and here's a thought, just throwing it out there. I wonder if there's more, existential room for women to do this, because there isn't this expectation of you're doing X and Y and Z at this point, right? Like, yeah, there's the whole grandmother sitting around and baking cookies and stuff, but I don't know many grandmothers that do that kind of thing these days, right? And I feel like because there's not a lot of societal roles that people can easily just slot you into at this point, there's more of a canvas for you to kind of make things the way you want and be who you truly are without all these other expectations of stuff that you have to do. It's kind of like stealth mode, Yeah.
Oh, I love that. It's the possibilities, because I have women in my life who love doing that stuff. They love, one of my best girlfriends, she loves needlepoint, right? You love crochet. I have girlfriends that love baking. I have girlfriends that love being a grandmother, as do I. I love being a grandmother. But I think now what we have that they didn't have, a generation or 2 generations ago is the options, the possibilities. You don't have to just be this one thing.
Yep.
It's stealth mode.
Yeah. Stealth mode,
Love
grandma.
That.
Love it.
Stealth mode, grandma.
It's funny. I can remember when I was little too, because I had some interesting grandmothers. I actually had 3. And to make a long story short, my mom's mom kind of got this bug and this vibe that we're talking about really early and went kind of the other direction. Like, I think she was like your grandma, but less accountable and more crazy. And I remember asking my mom, why can't I have just one grandma that freaking sits around and bakes cookies? Like, what in the hell is going on?
I love it. Yeah, my I had one grandma, she was a Baptist minister's wife, so she was busy doing church type things. And then I had, my other grandma who drank bourbon and played poker and, was single. The whole time I knew her, she was just single, living her life, thriving. So for women who feel stuck or unsure about what's next, because I know I see a lot of women that I work with and they're like, you know what? I don't know what's next for me. I just know I need something more. I just know something needs to change. Right? So why do you think that this, like our 50s, is the perfect time for like a reinvention?
Well, I mean, kind of like I just said, right? Stealth mode. Like, there's space,
Yeah.
There's space to do these kinds of things and make these kinds of choices, right? Like, we've talked a lot about how you and I are at very different points in life in a lot of ways, just in terms of you're an empty nester, I'm not. And just the freaking bold facts of that, And I think that when your kids move out or get older, you have more time. Like, I had my cousin over the other day and her granddaughter was there and her mom was there too. And this little toddler was just in the mood to kind of rampage around. And it's like, I literally sat there watching her run after this, sweet as all get out. Like, I love her. She's awesome. But run after this little girl for hours. Hours, right? And she was in one of those moods where she was picking up everything, picking up the scissors, right? And she couldn't take our eyes off her for 5 seconds. And I remember those days, like there was no amount of baby proofing that could top that. And there is no like faxing that in. Like, you are just,
yeah,
and
that's
that's
why when
the
our
way it
grandkids
is.
leave, it takes us 2 days to recover.
Oh, I bet.
After we have the grandkids.
I bet.
My name is Karen Shatafian, and I am a shameless coffee addict and empowerment coach for women, and my love language is authenticity. My mission is helping women unapologetically design a life they're in love with. Because what the hell are we waiting for? My website, KarenShatafian.com, has all my coaching packages and free offers like my Midlife Reclamation Guide. In it, you'll find tools to help you decide how to create the most inspired and empowered version of yourself and your life. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram talking about ways women can show up for themselves after decades of showing up for everyone else. Join me as we throw off the shackles and live our best freaking lives. See the show notes for all the details. Cheers.
But I think also not only just like whatever's happening in this stage of life, it's also what happens internally. Like it's the confidence that we build. It's kind of like zero fucks given at this stage.
Yep.
When we lose our estrogen and our people pleasing goes out the window, which hallelujah, we're here for that. Right. So it's like you have these external things happening in your life. Hopefully, you're more financially, secure than you were like in your 20s and 30s. You have more time, maybe. You might have an empty nest. Your career's winding down. Maybe you're retired, right? And so we have all these kind of external things happening in our lives coupled with the stuff that's going on internally, the more confidence, zero fucks given, right? And that's like this beautiful marriage, like just paves the way for however we want our next chapter to look. And I'm really obsessed with the idea of reclamation right now. I just rebranded my Facebook group for women over 40 and it's called the Reclamation Lounge.
I love it.
I like the idea of reinvention, but I also am really here for the reclamation because I want us to reclaim all those things that are already within us or those freedoms that we didn't have because of our societal conditioning, right? The things we didn't feel like we were allowed. And so I'm just here for women reclaiming all of it and just the freedom to take care of ourselves and put as much energy to our own dreams as we did to our kids and our spouse, right? It's like we spend so much time and energy helping our family and our loved ones do and get and be and have what they want. Now it's our turn.
Yep. And I think it goes both ways, like also saying no to stuff that you don't want. Like it's interesting. I work in ed tech and right now it's kind of a funky time, but I've always had recruiters calling me and they call my colleagues too, because what I do is it's hard to replicate. But I get all these recruiters that are like calling me up and like, oh, I have this great startup and blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, I would rather rip my toenails out with pliers than go back to those days when I was working for a startup. I could care less about your stock options. I could care less about the chance to make my mark on the world. Like I'm making my mark on the world just fine, but I am not like, and I've worked at startups before. I know what it's like. And it's like, I was just reflecting the other day. I was like, man, when I was in my 20s and 30s, I would have been all over this. And now I'm just like, oh, sweet Jesus, no. There's just no appeal to that. So I also feel like there's freedom in, like we talked about in our No is a Full Sentence episode, which by the way is like off the charts right now. So y'all sound like you really needed some permission to say no. But, this idea that like, yeah, you can embrace stuff, but you'd also be like, hell to the no. Like, I'm out.
That's where that confidence and zero fucks given comes in. It's just like something magical happens when we hit our 40s and 50s because it's like we're like, no, I don't need to do that. And I don't care what you think about it. I don't care if you think I'm a bad mom or a bad wife or a bad partner or a bad daughter. Like, I just don't because I know who I am inside, right?
Yeah.
So I don't need validation from anybody else. And I certainly don't need it through my whatever I'm doing. Like, no, thank you. If there are listeners out there and they are feeling stuck, like ask yourself, what would I do if I had zero limitations? We talked about this in my Facebook group last week. This was one of our questions. It's like, if I had zero barriers, zero limitations, what would I be doing? Where would I be? How would I be feeling? Right? And I think sometimes it's kind of scary to even think that because you feel like it's so far out of reach. You're like, I don't even want to let myself dream or go that way. Because I do have these barriers and I do have these limitations. So why bother? That's just how you kind of get your curiosity muscle moving. It's like, let's just get curious. How great can we fucking make it?
Yeah.
So if this is resonating with any of you guys out there, head over to my free Facebook group. It's called the Reclamation Lounge, and it's for women over 40, boldly choosing themselves with curiosity, courage, and zero fucks left to give. And I know that's long, but I needed all of it in there because that's what it is.
And breathe.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about the increase in confidence and the increase in just accepting yourself the way you are. I think I've talked about this before, but honestly, like, I feel like I'm a little like overboard on this. Like, at work especially, like, and maybe this is just like, I need to tell people to go take a flying leap, but I am also conscious of the fact that our company is not in great shape and I don't particularly want to lose my job either. So I've refrained from doing that. But I do feel like I care so little about what other people think of me that I might have a problem. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I've just gone completely the other direction about a lot of things. Not
Right,
some things, but a lot of things. Like, one of the things I still get hung up on is people thinking I've done something that I have not done or wasn't my intention to do, and then like blaming me for it or being judgmental before. I mean, it's not so much that I care about what they think. It's more that I get stuck in the whole, like, that's not actually what happened. That's not actually the truth of the situation. And they're basing that on falsity. So I think for me, the hook is the dishonesty part. Like, I just am like, wait, you're making your decision based on just stuff that isn't freaking true. And that I still get hooked up.
Well, and here's the facts. Like, women had to shapeshift to fit into society's expectations for so long that once, we've kind of evolved and kind of pushed our way through some of those barriers, now we're at this point, and when we want to do something that's a little out of the norm, or we want to prioritize ourselves, or we want to double down on self-indulgence or self-care, right? We feel like we're doing something wrong.
Oh, the backlash is...
Yes. It's
real.
like our good girl episode, our good girl myth episode, like trying to unwind from all of the things that society has told us we need to be in order to be a quote unquote good woman, right? Yeah. Is just a bunch of baloney. Well, and to your point, because I was for so long, I cared way too much about what other people thought. Like, I wanted people to like me. Like, I gave too many forks about people liking me. And, people that didn't really even matter. I mean, in a larger way in my life, right? And so it wasn't until I went through my divorce that I had to just really get good at that, because I started out the process trying to really control the narrative of how people saw me in my divorce. And I mean, I chose it. I left, and he's a good guy. So people had lots of thoughts and feelings about it. And so I was trying to constantly do damage control and make sure, people knew my side and they still thought I was a good person and blah, blah, blah. And once I realized, I freaking exhausted myself trying to do that, first of all. But once I realized, and I don't even remember when the light bulb moment came, but man, I remember the feeling, because once I realized I was always going to be the villain in his story and that there was nothing I can do about it, and people are going to think about me what they're going to think about me. They can think I'm a bad mom, a bad person, whatever they want. I don't give a beep. So when I got to that place where I no longer cared, that was the most freeing moment of my life. And, again, I was in my late 40s. So I think I was also going through the hormonal shift. I was losing my estrogen. I was losing my people pleasing. Thank goodness. We spend so long suppressing ourselves and trying to fit into what everybody wants us to be, that once you can reclaim that, it's life changing for sure.
So there's two things I want to say. First thing is, I remember what I was going to say before. Thank God, because it was annoying me. I really thought it was an absolute friggin' revelation. Like, I had no idea when Karen Baskett talked about in our menopause and Ayurveda episode when she talked about the actual scientific reason that you feel like a people pleaser when you've got all that estrogen coursing through you. I had no idea that was a thing. Like, not that you had more estrogen, but that made you more compliant with people. And I like, right? Like, mind freaking blown. And it's funny because I'm going on estrogen replacement. And now I'm like, ooh, how much do I want to replace? Like, I'm like,
Right.
talking to my doctor, I'm like, what's the limit on this, right? So I think that's really interesting. The other thing I was thinking is, you know, like this thing with my dad is just so difficult. And, you know, I've been thinking a lot about this idea of the reason everyone's been tiptoeing around him for years and years and years and years is because they were afraid this was going to happen, right? The reason you were tiptoeing around the idea of getting divorced and the idea of leaving and all this kind of stuff is you were worried it would turn into this big judgmental shit show about you without the focus being on the relationship that had broken down. And you were worried that it was going to be about you. And guess what? That's exactly what happened. And I think that that's something that I'm going through with my dad right now is it's like, Jesus, no wonder we've tiptoed around him and avoided these discussions and like smoothed it over for years and years and years and years because we were afraid of what was going to happen. And guess what? It's happening, right? So I think it's important to note that, like, just because you're ready to challenge these expectations, don't expect everyone to be like, right? You can get that from us. Like,
Right.
we're in your cheering section. Like, listen to one of our episodes, right? We'll buck you right up and support whatever you need to do when you're feeling down. But do not for 1 second expect that society is just going to be like, this is a fantastic idea. Like, often it's the complete opposite. And I just feel like you got to take that into account, not to change your behavior or do something different, but just to kind of prep yourself that shit's going down and it is not going to be, people are not necessarily happy. Who was it that said that? Was it, I'm trying to remember, one of our guests said that, where they were like, basically, people are not happy when you make changes. That is not necessarily the default response that you're going to get. It was one of our guests, and I can't remember who.
Well, you and I have talked about that before too, because when you make changes, guess what? People around you have to make some changes too, and they don't like that.
Yeah, well, they're not in it to change. Like, just because you decided to change doesn't mean that they are necessarily wanting to change.
Yeah.
And so they're put through this process almost against their will in a lot of cases. And it's like, okay, who's going to be the bigger person and step up and be willing to bend? Like, I maintain that that's why my marriage has lasted for almost 20 years now, is because my husband had to bend and remake himself and do a lot of things to look at stuff that, I mean, not just because for me, but for himself to survive. And I always say, like, if that hadn't happened, you know, when we were separated, we wouldn't be together. It's the fact that he's willing to do that makes a big difference. And not everybody in your life is going to be willing to do that. And it's sad and it's heartbreaking, but that's just the way it frickin' is.
Yeah. Oh, you're 100% right. Not everybody is willing to grow and change along with you. And you have to, well, no, you don't have to. I had to get to the point where I wasn't willing to stay stuck and stagnant and settling in a situation where somebody with me was not willing to grow alongside me. And I just think, you know, you just hit the nail on the head in terms of like partnerships. At least, you know, that's one of my values in a partnership. Is like, I want somebody to be growth minded and to be willing to say, hey, okay, what do you need? Okay, well, it might be a little uncomfortable for me, but I'm willing to do it because that's how much I love you and that's how much I'm committed to this relationship, right? But anyway, we're not really talking about marriage per se, but I think it's a good point because, yeah, when you make changes, people around you are going to have feelings and thoughts about it, and you just need to be prepared for that.
Okay, quick pause. Have we talked about the Pod Squad lately? Oh, the Pod Squad. You mean our email list /VIP lounge /digital wine club?
Exactly. So listeners, if you're not on it yet, you're basically making life harder for yourself when it comes to podcasts.
Like trying to scroll for show notes while speed walking on a treadmill. Wait, what was that link again? Oh, no. Grab the side rails.
Or pulling up that book we mentioned while you're in the Starbucks line and then realizing everybody else moved up 3 cars and now you're that woman.
We've all been there. That's why we made the Pod Squad. You'll get new episode alerts every week with direct links. Easy to listen, easy to share.
And show notes straight to your inbox. So when we drop a life-changing product, book, hot tip, or yummy new drink, you're not rummaging through your memory like a woman searching for her reading glasses when they're on top of her head.
It's organized, it's helpful, it's for you, babes.
So join the Pod Squad. The link is in the show notes. Just tap it.
Snacks, sarcasm, solidarity.
And obviously, fighting the patriarchy.
We write at dawn.
I just wrote a blog post today, actually, and it's called Starting Over at 50, Create the Life You Want, Even If You Think It's Too Late. And in it, I talk about how, and I think I said this earlier in this podcast, but it's like you feel like you're doing something wrong. When you choose yourself as a woman, you feel like you're doing something wrong, but it's because of our societal conditioning. It doesn't mean it is wrong. It just feels like it's wrong because of the tapes we've been playing in our brain for decades. And so to be able to combat that and still choose yourself is freaking revolutionary.
So bringing it back to pop culture for a moment, and I know we've talked about this on the show before, and I know that this show is a bit controversial, but this is just like smacking me in the face right now. So I'm trying not to do spoilers. So for those of you that have not seen the up-to-date episodes of And Just Like That, right? The show is going off the air. They're going to do a couple more episodes basically at this point, and then they're going to wrap up these characters, right? And people have all sorts of feelings about what's happening and what they're wrapping up. And so without spoiling stuff for those of you that haven't seen it, so people are probably familiar with one of Carrie's boyfriends, Aiden, who's played by John Corbett, and he's just great in the role. So they reconnect in this series, right? After her husband has died, and I don't think I'm spoiling alert that one because that was a huge like mic drop when Big died. But they come back together, right? And they have this massive conflict of he is wanting to kind of shove her back into this kind of role because of some things that are going on in his life. And she, for a while, is willing to be that person and bend and give him the space he needs because she loves him. But at a certain point, she's like, hold up. Like, you're asking me to do all of this stuff, like turn my life into for you. And I kind of feel like because of this, and this, you're not even able to abide by those rules. So why the hell am I supposed to abide by them now? And that just hit me like a ton of bricks. And it was like, yeah, I mean, they've been on and off for 20 years, right? Literally on the show. And, you know, she wants it to work. She's like, oh, you know, I really hope it's going to work this time. But like at some point, right? Who are you going to choose? And are we going to go back to, I'm turning myself into a pretzel for you just because like you could have a committed relationship with this person? I'm not saying like what's right or what's wrong. I know which one I'd choose, but I just think that that's a really, like I know the show's been criticized for a lot of things, but to me that just seems like such an authentic experience of a woman in midlife. And you know, nobody wants to be alone, right? But at what cost?
At what cost? Exactly. That's what I was thinking. And we are so good at just sacrificing our whatever to make people around us comfortable, to make people around us feel better, to make them happy. But I'm so happy that Carrie is finally not like not submitting, that's the wrong word, but like changing herself for toxic men. And not that Aiden's toxic, because I adored him, but I was always so annoyed with her in the original, you know, when Big would say jump and she'd say how high, you know, and into this pot of lava. Anyway.
Okay, I'm dying for you to see this. Like, we've got to get you like a bootleg copy or something. Do you have Hulu?
Yeah, I do.
But you don't have HBO, do you?
No.
HBO's got some really good stuff. I'm sorry.
I know.
Max. Oh, wait. No, just kidding. It's back to being HBO Max again.
Oh my goodness.
World's worst branding fiasco ever. Okay, moving on. So let's shift gears, because we love the gear shifting, and do what we always like to do and leave you guys with some resources. So I will definitely link this article from the esteemed People in the show notes. But there was a lot of references in there that I think people would really enjoy looking at. So there's some book recommendations, some movie recommendations, some blogs, like a lot of really cool stuff. So some of the movies that they recommend that really talk about the midlife experience are Back in Action with Cameron Diaz and Jamie Foxx. I haven't caught that one, but I love Cameron Diaz. And I remember when that came out, she was basically coming out of retirement to make this film. So I'm kind of curious about it.
I saw it.
Did you
I
like
saw
see
it.
it?
I
What'd you
don't
think?
remember. I mean, I love him. I love her. It was, I
Eh.
mean, it was okay. It was okay. It was
Okay.
entertaining.
Okay.
Yeah.
So don't pay movie theater prices
No.
for it is what you're telling me? Okay. God loves streaming. The other one is the last installment in Bridget Jones. And I freaking love Bridget Jones. Like that whole thing. And I read the books. It was great. I have not seen it. And I was a little like, Colin Firth isn't in it. But I do. I definitely want to see it. Oh, and I have to tell my Colin Firth story now because we love the tangents. So I have a dear friend who is no longer with us. And she lived in England for a while. And she was in London and she was sitting down at this like posh place to have lunch. And she looks over and Colin Firth is there. And I was like, oh my gosh, what'd you do? She goes, well, I leaned over to him because of course he's there. He doesn't want to be recognized. And I go, leaned over and I go, you're Mr. Darcy, aren't you? He's like, yes, I am. I was like,
gosh.
you did not. She goes, I did. It was horrible. I couldn't stop myself. It was like a train wreck. I was just like, I am embarrassed for you. Like, you meet him and this is what you say. She's like, it was awful. It was like someone took over my body and I couldn't. Anyways, so that's that one. There's a couple on here I haven't seen. The Idea of You is another movie that was based on a book. Lonely Planet is another one. There was a bunch of references in our last show that we did about sex that talked about a lot of really good movies that explored that idea. So if you're curious, look at that because there's definitely references about sex in midlife in there, but it's also just midlife in general. So that's another good kind of place to mine stuff. What about you, Karen? Do you have any other pop culture like TV or movie references for people?
Well, I'm the Instagram girly. I love my midlife. I have a hard time with the influencer thing, but I love following midlife women on Instagram. And Jen Polt, she was talked about in this article, and I've been following her on Instagram for a couple years. I think she started out as like fashion for midlife and makeup, which that's not usually why I start following somebody, but I love her vibe. I love her sass. She has a lot of the same philosophies that we here at Drinks with the Girls have, just very, embracing aging and just, giving a middle finger to the patriarchy, which we love. So check her out. Her Instagram is Making Up for Glossed Time on Instagram.
I'll put that in
and
the
then
notes.
I was scrolling and this woman, she's from Australia, I believe. Her name is Monique Van Tolder, Tulder. And she did a grown-up gap year. I think she's like 53 or 54, and she got tired of carrying all the emotional baggage for everyone. Like she maxed out. She had nothing left to give. So she gave herself a grown-up gap year. And she has a book. I don't know if it's newly out or if it's been out, but I want to look into her a little bit more. In fact, I messaged her and asked her if she'd come on the podcast. So
Please come. Please come. The other one that was listed in there, I don't know this account, but I think it's like a fashion and midlife thing. It's called Style Pantry. So that's the handle. We'll put that in there as well. Okay. Apparently there's such a thing as I'm going to butcher this, urogynecologist, an OBGYN. I'm not sure what the prefix means. And this woman, this is so interesting. Her profile on Instagram, her name is Jocelyn Fitzgerald, Dr. Jocelyn Fitzgerald. And she, for her certification, she's a double board certified urogynecologist, an OBGYN and has a degree in gynecologic economics. Like, I have no idea what all that means, but I'm so freaking curious. I'm going to follow her right now because I'm just like, oh, big fancy words. This is kind of interesting. So there's that. That'll be in the show notes, but that's kind of cool. And there's also Dr. Stacy Sims, who writes a blog. I think she's also on Instagram, but I'm not sure. And she is all about like women and activity and you know, helping the female body with strength and longevity. So she's a cool one. I'll put that one in there. Any other ones, Karen, that you can think of? I know we always like promote the gram.
One of the accounts that I like that I can think of right now, it's called Rants and Big Pants.
Oh, yeah.
It's two women, and I think one of them, it's mostly one of them now. It used to be both of them. And they do, you know, makeup, fashion, but also body positivity, loving yourself in aging. They are Gen X, so they talk a lot about, you know, just, again, some of the themes that you hear here on Drinks with the Girls.
Yeah.
But, you know, one of the takeaways I want women to leave this episode with is just trying to adopt the idea of being unapologetic at this stage in life. And I know sometimes it's hard because we feel like we are, you know, kind of breaking out of these roles that we've been in for a long time, and it feels uncomfortable. But I just challenge you to just get curious on how things could be better. Like we talked about in the very beginning, like the author of the article talked about, how can we enhance, you know, we're not trying to defy aging, we're trying to enhance it. But one of the ways we can do that is just really being unapologetic about what we want, you know, who we want to be, what we want, and just kind of going for it.
I swear to God, we will have merch someday that says no forks left to give. It's like a hand holding a bunch of forks. I can visualize it. We'll have it in a V-neck and a sweatshirt.
Let's have the cute little women holding the forks and then with the little subliminal middle finger.
I like that. Oh, and we'll have grown-up sippy cups.
Yes, thank you. Here, I have my grown-up sippy cup right here. Whoops, clink.
I'm trying to think what else. Drinks with the Girls branded AirPods. Love it. We'll get our merch department on that. All right. Well, let's somehow land this plane.
If you loved this episode, please share it with a friend who needs to hear this message. Another woman in your life who you really feel could use a little boost, a little confidence, and a little less forks to give. Don't forget to join my Reclamation Lounge on Facebook.
I want to say this. So you guys were so awesome when we were asking for the 5-star reviews. We've got like 12 now, which was awesome. So keep them coming. But here's the new thing I want to plug. Get on our Pod Squad, which is our email list. Please, 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 please. We really want to grow this because we feel like we can do some things with listeners that really only email is kind of the viable option here. And there's things that we want to do down the road that require us to have this. So I swear to God, we're not going to spam you. We're not going to we're not going to do anything awful. It's literally just, here's this week's episode. Here are the show notes. But we can't really grow that into kind of the next chapter of things we want to do if we don't have people subscribe to it. So please, please, please find that link. Like I said, you guys have been so awesome about the 5-star reviews. Please go in there and subscribe and grow that, because that's essential for Drinks with the Girls 2.0, which is ever evolving.
And once you're on our email list, you get all the show notes, all the episodes, and also it's your direct link right to us. So let us know what you like, what you don't like, what you want to hear more of, what you're tired of hearing, whatever. We will take all the feedback.
All the things. Yeah, and you get a free copy of our 30-day community building challenge as well, which is something that we talk about. So yay, free, all the things. All right, well, me and my sparkle hops are going to sparkle on by, and I'm just going to say thanks for listening, everybody, and cheers.
Cheers.